Hello, it's Claire from Come Back Brighter here. Now, this is the next in my series of what to expect when you go no contact. And in this one, I'm going to discuss fear, obligation, and guilt. Because I think it's really important to understand that when you exit a relationship with a narcissist, or when you're considering distancing yourself from a narcissist, these are the three main things that you're going to have to contend with. And it's particularly difficult at the start. Okay. Now, fear. First of all, the narcissist uses fear. Now, if you've been raised by narcissistic parents, for the whole of your childhood, you've been made to feel afraid of the narcissist, and afraid of them themselves, but also afraid of being abandoned. Okay. So the whole of your childhood has been focused on survival. And you found ways to survive within your family because you've made it to adulthood. And what happens is we continue that same fear, that same survival instinct into our adulthood unless we acknowledge it and heal from it. Okay. Now the narcissist will set up the whole family. Okay, it's not just the narcissist that's the problem. If you're the scapegoat of the family, you're the scapegoat of the whole family. Everybody will scapegoat you. And that's because the narcissist is like the leader, he's like the boss, the one in charge of the household, and whatever they do, other people will do too. And this is like the toxicity of a narcissistic family, because the whole family are involved in it. And the whole family, everybody, is in a struggle for survival. And this just isn't just amongst the children of the family. This is also the partner of the narcissist too, all fighting between themselves, all in competition with each other. And it's all about their fear of the narcissist and their fear of abandonment and the fear that they won't survive if the narcissist abandons them. And the narcissist will use that against their adult partner and also against their children. So the whole of your childhood would be about struggling to survive, whatever that meant for your particular context. Because it doesn't matter. Children don't know. Children don't know that there may be in your country a kind of social care system set up so that if children are abandoned, they are found another family. You don't know that when you're a child. All you know is in your household is that your mother or father is in charge, and if you displease them, that it could result in you being abandoned, which is huge to a child. And the narcissist exploits that. Okay, they will make every single member of the family feel utterly reliant on them for their survival, and that's huge. This isn't, and of course there's the actual, like, if they're physically violent too, there's that fear too. But there's also the fear of, and this is downplayed a lot, I think, generally in society, is the emotional violence that they wreak on their children. So their emotional violence in that they neglect their children emotionally. They're not there to support their children at all. It's all about the narcissist. The child actually is expected to support the narcissist in their emotions and how they're feeling. The child is not supported in any way, shape, or form by the parent. They're just expected to get on with it. And they're expected to revolve around the narcissist like the rest of the family does, which they do. So this is a deep, visceral fear. This is like the human's greatest fear, you know, is being abandoned, and that whole kind of community and the desire to belong and all that as well is pivotal. We need people around us, and when you're raised by a narcissist, you're reliant on someone who's using that reliance to abuse you, and that's a very, very big fear. So it could be that you've been long independent of your parents. I mean, they may even actually have died by now. But there'll still be some, if you've not healed, there'll still be residual feelings of, even if you're not consciously aware, will my parent approve of this? And because the thing is, you don't realize it, they take up the whole of your mind. So there isn't, it's like the filter through which you see everything. And this is as a child and as an adult, everything you do or say goes through the filter of what will they think about this? And whilst you're a child, it's a way to survive because you are reliant on somebody who's abusive, unreliable, erratic, and you can't rely on them. But when you're an adult and you're independent, you're no longer in that same situation. You earn your own money. However it is, you're independent. However that looks for you, you're independent of them. But you still carry around that same need to belong, the same need to be loved and accepted by them, which can be so detrimental because you're not living your life free. They're taking up space in your head and you don't even know it until you're free of it. That fear hangs around and it's really huge. Now, I remember when I first found out about narcissistic personality disorder, I had a computer that my father had never even seen. And in my frantic researching right at the beginning, which I found out about narcissistic personality disorder and I went no contact within a matter of days because it finally explained to me what the true dynamic was in the relationship with my father. It wasn't me. He was never going to change. This was the way that things were going to be. So I either had to accept it and continue to allow myself and my son to take his abuse, or I stopped it. And I chose to go no contact. But part of this was I went on this research, like rampage, if you like, research rampage. And I found all the documents and all the articles and all the websites and all the podcasts and all the videos and everything that I could. And I saved them all. I would save bits of it. This bit, yes, that's what my dad's like. That's exactly what he's like. And links to this story that was exactly like my father. And I had this like dossier that I kept on my computer. And I was so scared of my dad that I hid it in a folder in under something else, like bills or something. Now, he'd never seen the computer. He was never going to see the computer because I'd gone no contact by this stage. But I was still scared of him to such an extent that I felt like I had to hide this information away from him. So what I want you to understand is that there are truly violent and dangerous narcissists out there, 100%. And if you've ever been subjected to any physical abuse by a narcissist, then treat them as the most dangerous of people and get yourself away and safe. Okay, that's your priority, get yourself away and safe. But there are some narcissists that don't display any physical abuse, okay? And they are still dangerous, but not so dangerous to you physically as the ones who are physically abusive, because you never know how this is going to escalate. So that, like I said, the priority is to get yourself safe. Right. But in the case of narcissists who aren't physically abusive, what they do is they inflate themselves. Okay, they make themselves out to be like some sort of god. Okay, that's what they want to be. They want to be worshipped. They want to be idolized. They want to be, they just want to be the most important one, and none of it with any like responsibility on their part, not from their behavior, but just because that's what they want. They just, as they stand, they just want to be, because they already feel that they're superior, so they just want to be like worshipped in the ways that they feel that they're superior. It's like acknowledgement. I'm better than you, and if you're worshipping me, then that confirms that I'm better than you, and that's where you're supposed to be. You're down there and I'm up here. I'm much better than you. That's what they want. Okay, so they want blind adoration, blind devotion, blind subservience. Just do exactly what you're told by them. Okay, and 9 times out of 10 that will be not what you want to do. Okay, and so they inflate themselves. When they're children, they do have that position over you, or it certainly feels like it a lot more, because if they do abandon you, there is the question of whether or not you would actually survive that. Because also they've isolated you from other people so that you don't feel like you have anywhere else to go. So you've only got them, you're reliant on them, and that gives them more power. Okay, you're isolated, they're all you've got. There is nobody else. You don't feel like you could go to anybody else, and they've deliberately contrived that so that gives them more power. Okay, so they do have like a power of kind of like God over you as a child. Okay, but it's not the case when you're an adult. Okay, but it's not true. It's not true. Okay, if they did throw you out, that hopefully there would be people around that have witnessed what's going on who would be happy to help you out, or there would be some sort of social structure in place that would help you if needs be, even if it was going to a refuge or something. Okay, so that's the fear when you're a child, is you're just going to be kicked out onto the streets and no one's going to look after you, which I don't believe actually is true, but that's how it feels when you're a child. Okay, when you're an adult, you have that same fear. Okay, and the narcissist wants to continue that same fear. It's because of the unresolved wounds as a child. Okay, that fear carries on through your life, but it's much like the wizard in The Wizard of Oz. Okay, there's a clip, and I'll put the link again in this. I've already done a video about this, but I'm bringing this into this video. So what they'll do is they'll have all the things to make them seem like they're all powerful, and they've got all this power and control, and you should be terrified of them and you should be fearful of them. But basically, it's just a little old man behind a curtain with loads of smoke and mirrors and special effects and a microphone that makes his voice sound much boomier than it actually is. Just a frightened little man behind that. Okay, just like the Wizard of Oz. They inflate themselves. It doesn't make sense. It's only now that I can see back as like, wow, he had all the power and I was terrified. Because to me, he was like God who was going to rain thunderbolts down on my head because I dared to go against him. Now, that's not in his power. That's not in my father's power to do that. But it felt like it. Okay? So you drag that fear with you into adulthood, okay? And it's not to be underestimated how much that fear will keep you in contact with them. How much you will continue, you will try to kind of resolve that fear by seeing them, how much you will compromise yourself by continuing having contact with them just because you're afraid of them. And that's a terrible reason, because the truth is they don't have that power and control over you that they think they do. And if you're out and independent, they have no power or control over you, just maybe emotional, which is not to be underestimated. But they certainly don't have that kind of ability of controlling your life or death over you when you're out and you're independent. Okay, so obligation, the narcissist will make you feel obligated to them. Okay, it is your duty to look after them, and there may well be conversations that probably it might have gone on for the whole of your lifetime about how you are expected to pay the narcissist back for raising you by looking after them in their old age. There is an expectation from narcissists that you will do exactly what they want. And some of that will be, you will open your home, you will compromise all of your life to look after them in their old age. And it's not, there are some parents, there are some children that will do that for their parents, and they will do it willingly, and they will do it because they love their parents. And that's good. That's great for them. Fantastic. But if you open your home to a narcissistic parent, that parent will decimate your life. They will destroy your life. They will destroy your family life. They will destroy your friends, your finances, your health, your mental health. They will destroy all of it. They will take, because when they get older, they get worse. When they get older, no, actually, sorry. When they get older, they can't be bothered to maintain the facade of being a decent human being anymore. So their mask slips, and it slips permanently. And they will expect you to be there 24/7, even if they don't need it. They will expect, and they will test you. It will be the calls at 3 o'clock in the morning to say, I want you to do something for me. The knock on your bedroom door at 4 o'clock to say, I need some medication, you need to help me. Not because they have a genuine emergency, but just because they want to say to you, jump, and you to say, how high? That's what it's all about. So they will make you feel obligated. And it's that obligation again that's been one of their tactics, one of their manipulations, just like the fear, to pull you in when you don't want to go. So you'll feel obligated to see them. You will feel obligated to call them. You will feel obligated to buy them gifts at Christmas, birthdays, Mother's, Father's Day, anniversaries, all the stuff. You'll feel obligated to take them on holiday with you. You'll feel obligated to do all these things. There's no thought that this will be an enjoyable thing to do. No thought that I want to do this because I love them and I care for them. It's all because they expect it from you. And they will have made it very, very, very clear if you get it wrong. So if one year you get them a gift and it's not big enough, they will give you the silent treatment, or they will tell you it's not big enough, it's not expensive enough, it's not special enough, you didn't do enough. And then the next year you'll do more. It will never be enough for a narcissist. And this is how they keep you tied into the obligation. You're always trying to pay them back, because not only is it about the whole thing of them raising you as a child, which was their choice to have a child. Okay. It's not about them raising you as a child that you have to pay them, not just that you have to pay them back for. It's every single time they see that they've made a sacrifice for you. So if they lend you some money as an adult, yeah, great. How generous of them. However, what they will expect back 10 times more in terms of visits, gifts, whatever. There'll be strings attached. We gave you that money. Every single time you want to say no to them, every single time you don't want to do what they want you to do, they will use that against you. We lent you that money that time, and you're not even going to see us this weekend. We lent you that money that time, and you're not going to lend us some money back for us to do this thing. Or we lent you that money that time, and you haven't done that thing for your sister that you said you were going to do. So it's not just obligation to them, it's obligation to your siblings too. Because your siblings will expect you to look after your parents too. You will be the one that does all the caring. You will be the one that does the visiting. You will be the one that does the buying of gifts and all the rest of it. Whereas your siblings can do whatever they want to do. They don't have the same obligation. It's the scapegoat that feels the obligation. And guilt, oh my, the guilt. Oh my goodness, the worst is the guilt. That takes the longest to fade. That takes the longest to fade. The narcissist will use the guilt against you. They will say things, especially when they're getting older, and maybe they've got a few health problems. They'll say, I'm not going to be around forever. Yet they seem to last forever. And they'll say, oh, but I'm not feeling very well, so can you do this thing for me? And I'm ill, and I'm frail, and I'm infirm. Or it'll be they can't afford to do this thing, so they'll ask you to, or expect you to pay for it. They won't ask you, they'll expect you to pay for it. But then you'll hear that they spent lots of money on another thing. So the guilt is that they've used that. Okay, guilt is there. Healthy guilt is there as a function to tell us whether we should do something or not. Okay, so if you do something and it makes you feel guilty, then it's like a learning experience. The next time, if you're in a similar situation, you'll go, I won't do that again because I felt really guilty last time and I don't want to feel guilty, so I'd rather not do that. So it's like your conscience kicking in. Okay, that's good when it's your conscience coming in saying, let's not do that thing because we felt bad. But the narcissist, it's toxic guilt. You're made to feel guilty for saying no. You're made to feel guilty for having boundaries. You're made to feel guilty for having priorities other than the narcissist. You're made to feel guilty for having a life outside of the narcissist. You're made to feel guilty just for feeling guilty. That's their that's one of their massive manipulation tools that they used against you, is making you feel guilty. Now, unfortunately, what happens with guilt is this is something we take on ourselves. So they don't even have to press the guilt button, which, by the way, they've installed that. Okay, they've installed that toxic guilt. And then they know, right, all I have to do is press that button, press the toxic guilt, and they'll do exactly what I want them to do. Okay, so they know exactly what they're doing. And you've been manipulated into that. You've been Like the narcissist has nurtured that toxic guilt. But we also feel the guilt as a separate issue, okay? So if you've just got no contact, I'll be willing to bet that you feel guilty. I bet you do. And I bet you it will feel like it's crippling. It will feel like so uncomfortable, really bad, because you'll be telling yourself the guilt stories that they've told you. Oh, they're not going to be around forever, and they're a bit frail, and the last time I saw them they weren't very well, and you know, they're not doing very well financially, and they live in that awful house, and all the guilt will come on. It will pile on your head. You put it on yourself, but it's toxic. That guilt has been the manipulation tool used by the narcissist to keep you in contact with them. Okay? Don't give in to that guilt. Don't give in to that guilt. Endure it. Work through it. In fact, this is where it comes in. This is what I did when I went no contact. I wrote a no contact list. Okay? I wrote down the good things my parents had done for me versus the bad things that they'd done for me. And the good things was a very short list. The bad things, I went on for 4 A4 pages on my computer with one line in between. So it was a one-line description, space in between, one-line description, and it went on for 4 pages. And I stopped after 4 pages because I thought, that's enough. So that's one way to get rid of the guilt. Remind yourself what it's all about. You're not responsible for this situation. You've done everything that you can to try to work this out. You don't deserve that guilt. It's like you've taken on the narcissist's guilt, because they should be feeling guilty, but narcissists don't feel guilty. They don't feel bad. They don't have a conscience. So it's like we take on theirs. We have double rations. And it can feel awful. It can feel crippling, that guilt. But if you do the list, like I said, and every time you feel that guilt coming up and you're thinking, oh, but I feel really guilty, and they're old and they're not going to be around forever, and blah, blah, all the stuff that they've been manipulating you with previously, or even things like, oh, they might kill themselves. Oof, you're not responsible for that. That's awful. That's pure emotional manipulation. It's pure emotional manipulation if they do that. So refer to that list. That guilt comes up, refer to that list. And what I hope is by the time you've even read through half a dozen of those things, you start to feel angry, or at least justified in your no contact. Okay? Read it through. And then you're like, oh, okay, I'm justified. Remind yourself of the truth of what they really are. Okay? Because all those incidences that you've listed out, some of them will be really recent. So if they're old and frail and not very well, they've been old and frail through some of those incidences. But it didn't make them behave like a better human being. It didn't make them stop abusing you. It didn't make them behave better. They behave badly, whatever. They'll behave badly on their deathbed. Okay? So do that. Do that now. Don't put it off. Don't be like, oh, I don't know, I want to do that. Do it now. Don't put it off. Believe me, it's worth it. Refer to it every single time. And especially if they contact you. Or especially if you're thinking, oh, I feel really guilty. I'll just send them a message and make sure they're okay. Or I'll just give this person a call to make sure they're okay. If you feel like regaining contact, even indirectly with them, look at your list and remind yourself what they're really all about. I hope that this helps. Now, if you need me, I'm here for you. If you're struggling, if you've just got no contact, it's a very, very difficult time. Please reach out to me, Clare at comebackbrighter. No, sorry, Clare comebackbrighter@gmail.com. Bye.